Not recording. Yeah, I think you have to press the orange one and then there's a record button. As I mentioned yesterday, one of the important things in Perkins is the subgroups and how are you addressing the subgroups, which subgroups are seeing success, which subgroups need some more support. And, yep, it looks like it's all right. Ready? Yep, and then just push the orange one again to get it. No? Sorry. The little orange arrow to make that go away. And now click one more time on, like, just on the P, just on the slideshow. Okay. Oh. All right, good, thank you. So yesterday we looked at state aggregate data. At this point, you don't yet have from PED your subgroup data, but my friend Jessie, we are working on this, and we're hoping to have that to you this semester so that you can start looking at your subgroup data at the school level and really start thinking about your performance indicators partialed by subgroups. But what we're going to do today is look at very briefly at the state level and some subgroups, and I just kind of want to demonstrate some ways that you can think about your data that maybe help visualize solutions. That's really my goal. So we looked at this data just briefly yesterday, but this is one of our successes, our graduation rates. The state target was 75%. We are at almost 90%. So we are doing a good job of graduating kids from the CTE pathways. These are CTE concentrators that are graduating high school. So we are retaining those kids and helping them get through and succeed and finish high school. And that's a win for us. When you look at the subgroups, you also can see that it's a win across a lot of different subgroups. So, so statewide, we've got 70% graduation rate, and we're graduating slightly more females than males. We're graduating, our Asian numbers are really low, so so these are the, sorry, this is the column that says CAR, I don't know if you can see it on that side. The column that says CAR, this is our CTE students that we report to the feds. And then this column, the furthest right column, is the statewide column. And so that's all of the kids in the state, not just our CTE kids. And so what you see here, that almost 90%, 89.6%, compared to a statewide graduation of 70%. And that's really cool. That's a good story for us, because that's saying that what we're doing in the classrooms is keeping kids in school. It's keeping kids engaged and helping them to get across the finish line. And when you look at it by subgroups, the male one here is an important story. Dr. Stone talked a little bit about the boy problem, and what we're doing in CTE helps with the boy problem. We've got more boys graduating who are in CTE than we have in the general statewide population. Okay? Not so much yeah, girls too, 91, 75. All the way across here, look at the successes. Every place that we're measuring, we're doing better than the state average with our CTEs. This is a success across the board in all of our subgroups, worth recognizing. You know, we monitors, we tend to push on you guys like, what did you miss? What did you do wrong? How can you do better? But this is a really good story for us. School completion, we're in the safe harbor. Our target is 93%. We got 86%. So I asked you yesterday, how do we get to the 93%? How do we do that math? Today I want to look at the data and say, where do we do the math? We figure out how many kids we have. Let's look here and say, where is there some space for improvement? And when I look at the size of where are these, of these 6,400 kids, that are in the denominator, the big piece. Where can we get some movement? This is where I spot 3,600 economically disadvantaged youth. That's a big portion of the whole. What can we do to help our economically disadvantaged youth move forward with school completion? We figured out how many kids we need. We did the math on that yesterday, how many kids we need. Now let's figure out what we need programmatically in order to get those kids across the finish line. And let's look at our subgroups as perhaps a place to target programmatically. Technical skill attainment. This is the GPA of 2.0 or better within the CTE classes. We exceeded. Many of your schools you may have exceeded. Nonetheless, we can look at our data to try to find places. It's not good enough till we're at 100%, till every kid is successful. We shouldn't stop. And when we look at this data, my research question is, where is the weakness? We have a lot of strength in this indicator, but there are places that are weak. And there's what I see in the data as the weakness. We're at 93%. Limited English proficiency, 81%. There's a place where we have room to improve, even in an indicator where overall we're doing well. I hope that you guys will try to engage in those kinds of critical analyses of your school's data, right? And say, how can we make a difference with our populations? 5S1 is placement. Again, we exceeded this target statewide. Let's look at other states, though. Maybe our target is really not that great. So here's some other states from that website that I gave you. Our placement was not quite at 60%. Oregon's 55, Texas is 70, Wyoming is 97. What's Wyoming doing that they're able to get all their high school kids employed? And we're only employing just over half. Yeah, they're all riding the range. Placement is either in secondary or in jobs. I mean, in post-secondary or in jobs. So some states are doing a better job of moving kids along in being productive members of society. So the big picture here is that there's things that you've got to be doing that will lead to performance. I think, personally, that it starts with student interest. And in the secondary level, a lot of times your CTE programs start with student interest. Instead of choosing a program of study, when you do that next step plan that Mary did the little survey and asked you guys, what are you doing? The next step plan, instead of being aligned to a program of study, is aligned to student interest. And that's where we got to start. We have to take that student interest and guide it, direct it, shape it, recognize that a ninth grader is maybe not the best steward of exactly what path that they should be on. If they tell you they want to get over to that corner, give them some guidance on how to get there. And advise them. And if you advise them into a program of study instead of just letting them take whatever they feel like, that's going to lead to better performance, better outcomes. The one that you can barely see there says enrollment. You know, so you give students advice and then you get them into your classes. You got to have classes, right? If you're only offering the classes that you have teachers to teach and you're not aligning your hiring with what industry needs, then you're putting kids into classes maybe that aren't leading on a path toward long-term performance and success, right? And so maybe you have to think about what is it going to take at your institution to make sure that the teachers are teaching what kids need in order to be on a program of study that leads to a job that's high wage, high demand. So I think that you could kind of put this as kind of a three-circle. How do you get the improvements across all of those core indicators? Well, you have to have student interest. You have to couple that with academic rigor. And then there has to be industry relevance. If there's not job relevance, they're not going to end